think Malcolm has to shift his political ideology to the right?
He's betraying the LNP party members, the rank and file.
No other federation is as centralised as we are, and that wasn't the intention of the founders.
People who should be concerned about the future of Western civilization, of Judeo-Christian culture, because ultimately that's what's at stake here.
I can tell you, by people voting One Nation, they got, or will get, abortion on demand in Queensland.
I don't think there is a scientific or sort of definition of life. I don't.
This is complete nonsense. People do not live their lives as the left would have us live it.
But in the 19th century, the dominant meaning of secular in Australia was not sort of the absence of religion.
You shouldn't rule the church out as an institution. Other institutions get to have their say.
A child does best, on average, when raised by biological married parents.
I will fight for Australia's rights, our freedoms, our way of life.
I'm an anti-feminist because I think it's oppressive, I think it's anti-male, I think it's anti-femininity.
Now, it may be a very weak Brexit, but I tell you what, Brexit of any kind and leaving those treaties as well.
That's the best ever interview. Michael Parkinson, you got nothing on this bloke.
G'day and welcome to Pellowe Talk. I'm Dave Pellowe. Now, we've just had a recent announcement in federal politics in Australia. Scott Morrison has tried to take a bit of wind out of the sails of Labor's push to fight for workers' rights and constantly inflate minimum wages and make sure that business owners have less and less control over their businesses. And he's preemptively decided that casual workers will now be entitled to ask for a permanent position. So if you've worked for 12 months anywhere in a casual position, you're entitled to demand a full-time job, even if that isn't what your employer wants. Now, it seems to me like there's going to be a whole lot of employees, casual employees, who find they're mysteriously no longer required at about 11 months and 3 weeks. However, here to discuss the full implications of this is Economist Jean Tunney. Welcome to Pellowe Talk, Jean.
Hello, Dave. Great to be here.
Give us the lowdown. Explain to us maybe the background, why Scott Morrison did this, and your opinion as a political observer. Do you think it's a good move? Will it satisfy the unions? Will it satisfy the union members? Will it satisfy the Labor voters? Will anybody in the middle vote for this? And then, I guess, your opinion as an economist. What are the predictable consequences of this legislation?
Well, it's certainly opposed by the unions if you've seen the media coverage. So what Kelly O'Dwyer appears to be doing is setting up a regulatory framework that means that the full implications of a federal court decision that were very favourable to the unions, that doesn't play out. So what happened a few months ago in this federal court case is that it ruled in favour of a right for people who are classified as casual employees who are working for labour hire companies, or who the labour hire companies were classifying as casual employees to be entitled to annual leave. And so there are concerns about double dipping and what the cost of that would be to employers. So there's quite a lot of complicated labour law involved, and it appears that what the government is trying to do is to try and bring in a framework that is the least bad option from their point of view. And it looks like the AIG, the Australian Industry Group, appears supportive of what Kelly O'Dwyer, the relevant minister, is proposing, so the Industrial Relations Minister. So yes, I think this is not something I'd be doing if I was wanting to promote employment growth and if I was concerned about the availability of jobs for young people. But the government seems to think that this is probably the least bad option. The problem is we've got a very highly regulated labour market, and when we experimented with a deregulated labour market under work choices, but that was very politically unpopular. This current government doesn't want to fight on IR. It just knows it's politically toxic. So, yeah, essentially what's happening is that the government's it's trying to come up with a solution that that means that employers won't have to potentially pay additional money for the annual leave, because the employers will argue, well, if you're getting a casual load and you're already being you're getting compensated for the vagaries of casual employment, so then what?
Correct.
If you're then getting that entitlement, well, yeah, why should you then have got the loading? So they want to offset that. So part of the regulatory solution the government is offering is to, prevent that double dipping, and at the same time, it is providing this new right to ask or request to be made permanent after 12 months, and that's something the unions have been pushing for. But I'm still not clear to me exactly what what that process will involve and what exemptions may be there. I mean, when I heard that Kelly O'Dwyer was introducing this, when I first heard it, I was quite stunned, and this doesn't sound like something that you would typically expect from a Conservative government. But I expect they're trying to do it to bring in a framework that is manageable and that has exemptions that are sensible, so the impost on business and the community isn't as great. And then that's my essential reading of what's gone on. It looks complicated. There's some quite complicated labour law issues involved.
Do you think there's going to be a whole bunch of bosses letting casual staff go rather than be forced to make casual staff permanent after 12, 13 months?
Well, look, I mean, quite possibly that could occur. I mean, we have to see exactly what the regulatory framework looks like, and we'd have to look at what the other options of those employers are. I mean, in many cases, they really need the flexibility of casual employment.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, it may be that they will have to go through many more people and bring on new casuals. Not hire the old casuals back, not give them any new shifts. Bring on new people to so they're not faced with this issue of having to hire someone as a permanent employee. So look, yeah, that's very possible, but I'd like to see what the actual regulatory solution looks like, the details of it. I think we need still more information to work that out.
Yeah. Look, you're right, though. This isn't the kind of move a Conservative government should be making, not even a right-wing government. It's just yet more, in my opinion, more interference, more regulation. And again, my reading of economic history, and I certainly not as distinguished in my study and reading as you, but I don't see that increasing government involvement and regulation in a marketplace ever works out well for the most vulnerable people in that marketplace.
Yeah.
It's usually the consumer and the people who find it hard to get a job, the people who are unskilled, uneducated, unexperienced. Those people will be the first people to bear the brunt of conditions being tougher for businesses.
Oh, exactly. I mean, casual employment, has been good for providing jobs, and it's been good for the hospitality sector. It's been good for uni students, for example. So it has been beneficial in terms of providing jobs, and I agree. The more that we interfere, and the more we try to make outcomes more equitable through regulatory solutions like this, actually the worst, it could actually be, I mean, many workers, it could actually be worse for, working people that the unions are, arguing they represent, because they have fewer employment opportunities. And
that's right.
We're all in a situation where, industries which utilise, casual employment, I think, that there are industries that are doing it tough. I mean, retail, for example, I mean, that's, that retail hasn't been fantastic over the last few years in Australia. The hospitality sector's been hit by nanny state regulations that you've probably chatted about with other guests, lockout laws and all of that sort of thing. So it is unfortunate that this new regulation is coming into it's being introduced. But as I said, I mean, it could be the least bad option. I'd like to understand a bit more about exactly what this right to permanent employment would look like and who would actually qualify for that right. I expect there'll be quite significant exemptions for that.
Yeah, look, on the face of it, you're right. There's a whole lot of detail missing, but on the face of it, it probably isn't good policy if it leaves the people who would be naturally inclined to want you to do well, leaving them scratching their heads. If we can't figure out why they've done this, I mean, how are the people on the left who hate a right-of-centre Prime Minister and government going to give this any credit whatsoever? If it's like an insurance policy, that's all the best we can possibly think of at this moment.
Well, I mean, the unions, as I mentioned, are opposed to this policy because they're opposed to the element where people are, they see that the people are losing entitlements because the government would be ruling out what the employer groups are calling the double dipping, because they will allow the offsetting of
holiday loading plus
previous casual loadings.
Right.
Yeah. So the unions are opposed to what the government's doing. The industry, it looks like the Australian Industry Group just accepts it. They've had to accept that. They've had to accept a certain level of regulation because they've realised that we're not going, and likely we go back to something like work choices. That was tried. It was extremely unpopular.
Yep.
I think it was fantastic for job creation. I mean, we ended up with unemployment going below, I think it was about below 5% at one stage. We had unemployment below 4% in Queensland. It's just extraordinary.
Yep.
And I'm pretty sure that we wouldn't have seen that if we hadn't had that deregulated labour market environment for those few years.
Yeah, of course.
So it's not great policy, but look, this is just the reality of the system we're in, and industry groups are having to accept this, and the government sees this as the path of least resistance from their point of view.
That's economist Gene Tunney, and he's got a great new book out detailing the history of economics in Queensland since Sir Joh. The reality is, and I'm looking forward to this interview, is that economically ignorant voters are sending this nation bankrupt because the governments can only do what the voters will permit them to do. And if the voters don't understand why economic responsibility is working for them, they're just going to vote for somebody to give them all the lollies and sweets like spoilt children instead of their meat and veggies, which helps you grow up big and strong. So that's my economics metaphor for you. Look forward to seeing you in the comments section. This episode of Pellowe Talk was sponsored by the Pellowe Talk Partners, who can't be boycotted. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube and Instagram while you can, and subscribe to new videos and articles on my website, davepellowe.com, where I'll never be deplatformed. Please make sure to like and share this video and leave your opinion in the comments section below.